Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gav Major, and this is a review of the Tier 5 British aircraft carrier HMS Furious. Now, this is a Tier 4 and 5 game of capture the base on the Atlantic and the M2 of the Kamikaze, Mahan, Omaha, Nuremberg, Exeter, Oklahoma, Normandy, California, and another Furious. So HMS Furious is a member of the three strong, courageous class battlecruisers which were built and launched during World War II. Furious was equipped with two 18-inch guns mounted in two single turrets, while Courageous and Glorious were equipped with four 15-inch guns mounted in two dual-gun turrets. It just escapes me there for a second. Now, Dragon now has done a video regarding this class of battle cruiser, which he has made into two parts. Part 1 covers their battle cruiser life, and Part 2 continues their carrier conversion life, which was due to the Washington Naval Treaty. Now, those will be carded top right now. At least Part 1 will be. With Part 2, I'll leave to your own devices to actually try and find. So, in comparison to the other Tier 5 fully upgraded aircraft carriers, what we're looking at? Well, in regards to the survivability, you have the second highest HP of 44,100. In regards to her armour scheme, it's always best to go back to the port and take a look at her armour scheme there. So here we are back in port, taking a look at the armour scheme of the Furious. So, first up, I guess you could say, let's start with the superstructure. The very tiny, actually to be honest, I'll just turn everything else off so you can actually see the superstructure. There it is, that bit there. With the tiny little crow's nest. Yeah, that's very thinly plated. But no one's really going to be hitting it because it's so small, and if they do hit it, it's very thinly plated, so only really HE is going to be doing much work on it. So we can actually make that disappear, and then we can turn everything else back on. So let's have a look at everything else. Bow and stern is covered in 19mm of plating, which is sufficient to ricochet 8-inch AP, and also will stop 4-inch HE as well. So that's quite nice in regards to her survivability against, say, destroyers and things like that. And obviously you have that bow and stern as well. Taking it away, torpedo protection. We do have a torpedo bulge represented, but there is no torpedo reduction. But I guess this kind of stops flooding, is the best way to put it. It's mostly focused in the centre of the ship where you'd expect it, and it's not really going to be doing too much against surface threats, I guess you could say, apart from torpedoes. The upper armoured belt and deck. Well, the sides are 16mm thick, which is obviously enough to ricochet 8-inch AP when angled. The deck is 19 to 21mm thick, I believe. So that's again 8-inch AP, 4-inch HE. So HE saturation, if it's lying on the top, is not going to be that. Well, you're going to be quite survivable to it. So if you are firing HE at Furious, you want to be aiming for the big flat sides rather than getting it to try and land on the top, which does mean at range, plunging fire, HE should probably not be able to penetrate. So with destroyers, you probably want to get close to this in order to start punching through the sides of the HE. The lower armoured belt, 76mm, capable of ricocheting all 8 AP, which is quite nice, and that does kind of cover the top of the Citadel. Looking at the Citadel, obviously she was originally built as a battle cruiser, so she has got this very weird little turtleback. I wouldn't necessarily say whoopie do, but it is a turtleback. Her Citadel is quite low, literally in the water level, so it's going to be quite hard to really Citadel the Furious up close. More like plunging fire is what's going to be hurting the Furious, but obviously you are going to have to catch her broadside on and be punching through this quite thick 76mm of plating. But all in all, the arm scheme of the Furious seems to be quite intriguing. So let's go back. So on to the aircraft. Regarding the bombers, they have the second highest HP of 3,100. They are the second slowest at 154 knots. Attack squadron size of 2 aircraft, while the squadron is 6 aircraft. Now the detection of these aircraft is 10 kilometers, and they do have the longest restoration time of 80 seconds. When it comes to the individual bomb damage, you're looking at having the lowest, which is 5,250. However, when it comes to the potential HE bomb damage from a single drop, it is the highest. The reason being is each aircraft will drop 6 bombs. Now, when it comes to the fire chance, individually the bombs have the lowest fire chance of only 25%. However, again, due to that large number of bombs being dropped, you do have the highest HE bomb potential, as in like fires. We have Mahan. Getting an incapacitation, but we might just loop around, and if we can harass Mahan, it will be obviously for the best for our team. And obviously Mahan is isolating himself from the rest of his team, so as long as we get this nicely lined up. Getting another bomb hit and 2 incapacitations. And we will try and line up for another one as well, although it looks like he might wander into a torpedo. There he goes. Right, so we'll save this squadron, and we'll move on to the torpedoes, and while we're at it, we can then talk about the torpedo aircraft. So, torpedo aircraft wise, what are we looking at? Well, again, you have the highest HP of 3,100. Second fastest this time though, at 161 knots. Attack squadron size of 2, overall squadron size of 6. Detection 10 kilometers. Now they do again have the longest restoration time of 80 seconds. Now, when it comes to the torpedo damage, you do have the lowest torpedo damage of 5,200, and of course this means overall that you don't have a lot of torpedo damage potential, mostly due to the only dropping 1 torpedo per aircraft. Now, these torpedoes do have the shortest range of 2.4 kilometers, and they also are the slowest at 35 knots, so you will have to lead your targets quite a bit in order to get those hits. Let's see what we got over here. An Oklahoma and the Normandy. Maybe we should start working those over, so let's just reposition ourselves a little bit to do that. Now, moving back to the carrier, in regards to her AA, she has the highest AA rating for a tier 5 carrier, which is quite nice, and she's also got the joint longest AA range. Her maximum AA battery range is 5 kilometers, obviously subject to boosting it out a bit more if you want to. In regards to manoeuvrability, she's the second fastest at 31.5 knots. She's also got the largest turning circle, which is probably to be expected for an ex-battlecruiser, of 170 meters. She also has the second slowest rudder shift of 12.5 seconds. Now, when it comes to the concealment, you've got the best detectability by sea of 10 kilometers, best detectability by air of only 7.7 kilometers. Now, when it comes to the carrier's consumables, obviously you have the fighter consumable, which you get 4 of. This will launch a fighter cap whenever your aircraft carrier is detected, and this has a 600 second duration and a 40-second reload. Furthermore, you do have the standard aircraft carrier damage control party, which has a 60-second duration and a 90-second reload. In regards to your aircraft consumables, you get 3 engine cooldowns, which obviously allow you to reset your engine temperature. This has a 5-second duration and a 80-second reload. You can also drop fighters anywhere on the map, as long as that's where your aircraft are at the moment. So you can always just drop fighters on your aircraft location. And what you're looking at there is the fighters will hang around for 60 seconds and then takes a 10-second reload. The other thing to note on this is obviously you only have 3 number. Now, if you want to know the modules and the command build, that will be all down in the description. But I also have done a little skit back in the port, taking a look at the chosen modules and upgrades, what they do, along with the command build. So we're going to nip off to the port now. Regarding the modules and upgrades to the Furious, first of all, let's start off at the start. Choices here: Flight Control Module 1, which increases the restore time or the secondary battery. Now, because of that poor restore time on your aircraft, you kind of want to go for Flight Control Module 1 to reduce that restoration time of your aircraft. with your next slot, what are your options? Well, you can obviously improve the HP of your aircraft, you can extend your secondary range, or you can extend your AA range. In this case, because I want to try and push my AA bubble out, I've gone for the AA range. The alternative one would be to go for the HP, very much like I did on the Hermes. In regards to the upgrades, first of all, we have the upgraded hull, which does reduce your rudder shift, increase your HP, and the amount of AA mounts. So generally, that's quite a nice one to have, so let's pop that one on. Next we have the Barracuda Mark II, which are your bombers. Now, one thing it doesn't capture here is the number of bombs. So with these Blackburn Skewers, I believe, which are the base bombers, you only get to drop 4 bombs per aircraft, whereas with the Fairy Barracuda, you do drop 6 bombs per aircraft. So not only does your bomb damage go up, but also the bomb count goes up as well, along with the speed and the HP of the aircraft. So in general, that's quite an interesting choice. So let's go and pop that on as well. And then last but not least, we have the Barracuda Mark II in regards to the torpedo aircraft. Now in this case, there's no real change to the torpedoes compared to the Fairy Albacore, which are on board. There's no real change to the size of the squadron either. So in both cases, the bombers and the torpedo bombers, you have an attack squadron 2 and an overall squadron size of 6. And the restoration time stays pretty much the same, I believe. But with the Barracuda, the torpedo aircraft, again, they're getting faster, which is nice, and the HP goes up as well. So survivability wise, that's quite nice. I think generally, with the Furious, upgrade wise, a priority, I'd probably say you probably want to go for the bombers first, make your bombers a bit more effective, that number of bombs, that bomb damage. Then you might want to go for the hull upgrade if you so desire, or you could go for the torpedo upgrade. I think which order you go for in regards to the hull upgrade or the torpedo aircraft upgrade, it's down to whatever you kind of feel. Potentially, if you do get to a slot, you can always just say buy both of them and swap them out depending on your choices as you go along. Regarding the commander build, it's exactly the same as with the Hermes, so obviously using Dennis Boyd, whose base trait obviously reduces air detectability. The Furious already has quite a nice air detectability as well, so potentially maybe you could consider other commanders, but then again, this kind of makes it even better. Now, because I've already pushed out my AA range with my modules, I'm going to push out my AA range with no fly zone, and I'm also going to push out using Ernest King. Reason being is now my AA range is almost comparable to my detectability by air. So with the Furious, what this kind of means is if you can, you should stay generally undetected from enemy ships, and therefore the only thing that will probably interdict on you and detect you will be the enemy aircraft carrier. And so what you want to do is have your AA range, so that means they can spot you, but it's going to cost them to spot you. Now, obviously, as we mentioned before in the Hermes review, Stronghold versus one-way ticket, going for one-way ticket, making those torpedoes, when they do count, hurt a bit more. Stronghold is only really going to be useful if you're expecting to be continuously spotted. As we kind of said previously as well, On Alert is a bit of a wasted skill, and warning indicator telling you when you're coming under fire is pretty useless because you'll be in your aircraft 90% of the time. So basically it's just down to whether you want to prioritize detectability and HP of your bombers or your torpedo aircraft. In this case I've gone for the torpedo aircraft just because they're the ones that are least affected by RNG, and therefore they're the ones I know I can control the most and do the most reliable damage. With the bombers, obviously they still do damage, quite a good amount of damage as well, and fire chance, but you're still relying on quite a lot of RNG. And also the torpedo aircraft, you're going to have to get very, very close in order to actually drop these. So removing the detectability of those, it does assist you in getting onto those broadsides of those enemy ships. Burn Baby Burn, it's a nice trait, improving damage, improving your fire chance, but because of the way to carries at the moment, reducing your detectability is quite a good trait as well, especially as it gives you a bit more wiggle room behind the rest of your team. In regards to the legendary trait, both of them good traits, both of them have their pluses and minuses, so either an additional consumable and reduce reload time of the consumables, or you can have more HP for your aircraft. I think more HP for your aircraft is going to be better considering you're a tier 5 carrier. You could start to engage some of those tier 6 anti-aircraft cruisers that you do see in the game, like the Cheshire and the Helena, and a couple of others to mention, but I think that's going to be more useful. The reload consumable obviously does give you additional fighter cap, additional fighter drops with your aircraft, additional engine boosts as well. So again, I think it all depends on your player style on that one. And again, because we've been talking about concealment, going to use Swirski to bring in my concealment just a little bit more. So that's my command build for this review. welcome back, and we drop some bombs on the Oklahoma and get another 2 fires. Time to... that's our Spitfires being launched, or Sea Hurricanes. I haven't exactly been able to identify exactly which ones they are. I will just continue doing manoeuvres within the base. And let's see, we did get some fires on the Oklahoma, so we might maybe see what we might do. See if we can do a torp run on the Normandy, which is quite weak, and then we'll see if we can do a torp run on the Oklahoma next. Because what we do is we use the map border to actually bounce off the border quite nicely. So again, it's a Normandy, give it plenty of lead, bounce off the border, hopefully those torpedoes will make their mark. There we go.
We've destroyed an enemy battleship.
Right, time to find the Oklahoma, which is just over here. I think we're going to need at least 2 bomb hits in order to make it count. So I've started the drop, get it to narrow right down. You'll notice that narrowing torpedo trajectory, which is quite nice. Drop in, and we might even chance a return drop on the Oklahoma. Nope, there she goes, very nice.
Enemy battleship foundered.
Right, noting the Exeter is closing in quite quickly, so we'll just keep moving. And we'll do a push onto the Exeter here. So all in all, I found the Furious to be quite rewarding. The base aircraft that come with her aren't that bad. I'd probably say recommend upgrading the HE aircraft as soon as possible. Expecting the Exeter to try and turn in there, because that's what he was doing earlier. Fortunately, due to the torpedo speed, they passed to the rear, but it's slowed him down a smidge. Yeah, Furious, most certainly now one of my favourite tier 5 carriers. Going to be swinging it around, trying to stay outside the AA range of California. The manoeuvrability of the Barracudas is actually really quite nice. Ooh.
Battle ends in 5 minutes.
Getting another 2 fires quite nicely. Let's go for the typical carrier in the corner. That's what everyone likes. Let's see if we can get some torpedoes into the side of the Exeter, which is most certainly endeavouring his best to keep me up. Well, he's done a very good job at dodging torpedoes. Ironically, I don't think I've seen him set a smokescreen the entire game, which is quite interesting. He's certainly accelerating. So now we're finally finding our mark with those torpedoes, because we've got a bit used to his predictability. Should be able to find our mark with another torpedo, which should be enough. And now we have a question of how do we deal with a California, which is going to be quite awkward, but we'll endeavour, we'll do our best. We've only got 5,000 HP left, so probably 1 strike from the Hermes or 1 volley from the California should be enough. Ticks in the turn, we'll launch that there, we'll get some HE bombs off. I'll also drop some fighters. I'm anticipating the bombers to come straight along my length, so let's get a bit of evasive manoeuvres going. And wish ourselves the best of luck for the last 3 minutes of the game. But yeah, the Furious, even the base Furious, is a massive step up in regards to the Hermes and the potential that the Hermes has, and the Furious really is what the British carriers are all about. Here comes the California. We're going to use the whole Scorcher. We're not going to do any safety drops just because we need to try and maximise our potential HE output here. Would have maybe got a couple of bomb hits there on the California, but it is what it is. And so, walking away with a total of 67,000 damage. It's not my highest. I have been able to get 100k in the Furious, so she definitely has quite a lot of damage potential. Getting 3 kills from 16 bomb hits and 12 torpedo hits, 6 fires and 3 floodings, shooting down a total of 13 aircraft, getting 1 defender ribbon as well. Team scores coming in top of the team with 1277 ship XP, which isn't too bad at the end of the day. And economy wise, walking away with a total profit 197,000 credits, so making a tiny profit at the end of the day. Furious is certainly a leg up from the Hermes. Hermes is a bit of a struggle, I will admit, but Furious, even with her base aircraft, which I've even done very well in as well, she's got a lot of damage potential, which I really do like, and in longer games she can obviously affect that damage potential a lot better. Obviously you are still limited by the capability of your team, whether or not you get a win or a loss, but all you can do is really help, I guess you could say. Well, if you did like this, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy this content, feel free to subscribe. Down in the description is the command build and the ship modules, and also the link to Patreon if you want to support the channel on Patreon, and the email address to the channel if you want to send in any of your own game captures. Until next time, I'm the Gaff Major, and back to the port.
Hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the galloping major. Bumpity, 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 bump. Get out of the way there, you fellows, unless you want me to run you down. I guess this is the life. Now, hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the galloping major.